Okay, so War is Kind is written by Stephen Crane, and Stephen Crane is a poet. He was an influential writer, and he's one of the most influential writers in America. And so something about him is here. So the most important thing here is Crane's poem of 5 stanzas takes us right into the heart of the battle, capturing the cruelty of war. So he actually talks about the cruelty of war. So he sharply focuses the scenes of dying soldiers. In each stanza, the poet seems to console the mourners in an ironical tone. So, as I've told you, the poem itself really ironical because from the title itself, you can see war is kind. So, who can tell the war is kind? Nobody is telling war is kind. So, that is the title itself really ironical. So the irony runs throughout the poem. So if I recall you what is irony, you know, telling something else, uh, sorry, telling something else, but implying something else. Now, for example, the example which I am always taking is the verbal irony is there when you come to the class late. The teacher tells, you're on time. So ironically, it means you're late today, right? So like that, voice kind. So actually, is the voice kind? Is the voice kind? So that is our question, right? So this is really important. Uh, Stephen Crane captures the cruelty of war, and he focuses the scenes of dying soldiers. So most of the times, you have to remember some poets have written about the glory of the soldiers, how they go to the battlefield, how they march, the drums, the regiments, the glory of them. So, in a way, this glorifying soldiers refer to glorifying war. But Stephen Crane is not a such poet. So he is writing the cruelty of war. He is focusing on the cruelty, the bestiality quality of war, inhuman nature of war. And while focusing on the cruelty of war, he asks the mourners, the loved ones of the soldiers, loved ones of the dead soldiers. He tries to console them in a way. But the poem is written in an ironical way. So when we go to the first stanza, you can see voice kind is ironical, and from the title itself the readers become curious because why this person is telling voice kind, because we actually know that voice is not kind, voice is cruel, right? So it starts with do not weep maiden, for voice kind, because your lover threw wild hands towards the sky, and the affrighted steed ran on alone. Do not weep, voice kind. So you can see, do not weep, voice kind has been repeated. So it emphasized the ironical attitude. And from the first stanza itself, the poet is having a critical and sarcastic view towards the war. And the maiden is an unmarried lady. So there are a lot of unmarried ladies who are in love with the soldiers, those who battle in the battlefield. So many of these soldiers, many of their lovers, these maidens' lovers, never return. They return in a coffin. Sometimes even the body is not found. The dead body is not found. So the pathetic situation is there. But ironically, the poet is asking the maiden not to cry because your lover died. So, is it possible when your lover died, can you keep calm? No. So, that is there. And the affrighted steed. So, usually, most of the soldiers go to war on horseback. Some walk, but some on horseback. So this soldier has gone on horseback, and but you can see even the horse has ran away, um, making the soldiers stay alone in the battlefield. So this loneliness of the soldiers have also been brought out. And in the surface level, we can see the visual imagery, how the soldier go to the battlefield on horseback and how he falls down and when and the horse runs away. That is visual imagery. So moving back to the second stanza, hoarse booming drums of the regiment, little souls who thirst for fight. These men were born to drill and die. The unexplained glory flies above them. Great is the battle god, great uh, and his kingdom. A, a field where 1,000 corpses lie. So you can just see here, hoarse booming drums of the regiment, hoarse, rough, loud sound. And this sound seems to be irritating, not a pleasant sound. It is unpleasant. So, as I have told you, most of the writers, most of the war poets have talked about the glory of this regiment, the drums, but here, Stephen Crane is talking about this in an unpleasant way. He said it's like something disturbing for him. So he talks about this drums and regiment in a negative manner. So little souls, you can see, it refers to the young boys who thirst for fight. So usually I have here written in red color, the young boys always seek reputation and they want to show off their bravery. That is what happens because, those who promote war also promotes these young boys to go to the war and to uh, battle in the battlefield because they want to promote the war by sending more and more soldiers to the battlefield. Otherwise, the war stops. And so, what happens is the soldiers join the war, but the reputation is just temporary. Reputation is there once they walk to the battlefield as the regiment. There is a glory there, walking with the drums and flags, and people are watching them. So that is glory. Reputation is only that is really temporary. That is just see the word I have used, bubble reputation. Bubbles just pop up, right? It's there, it's beautiful. Everyone watches it, but suddenly it pops out. So then vanished. So that happens to the soldiers' lives as well. So actually, that thirst for fighting makes them die. That is just, they seek just bubble reputation. It ends up quickly. Okay, then these men were born to drill and die. So their fate, they have already decided their fate once they go to the battlefield. And the unexplained glory flies above them. They never experience the glory. They experience the glory being in a coffin. Sometimes even they are not allowed to be in a coffin as well because the dead bodies are not found. Right? So the glory is unexplained. Although they seek for glory, they uh, actually cannot experience it. Okay, and the next line is important. Great is the battle god, great and his kingdom, a field where 1,000 corpses lie. Great is the battle god. So in Greek mythology, now when we were doing grade 10 poems, we have found the poems like the Evening Star, where the goddess Venus is referred to. So goddess Venus also comes um, in Greek mythology. So here also another allusion is there. We call them allusions, as you all know, because it's taken from somewhere else. So it's taken from Greek mythology. So we here talks about Ares, the god of battles, right? So he is actually the god. Ares is the son of Zeus and Hera, and he's the husband of goddess Venus, right? So that is about the great battle god. So in Greek mythology, we find gods and goddesses for each and everything. The god of sky, stars. Now, goddess Venus is the goddess of beauty, fertility, prosperity, like that. So here also we find something like that. And can you say this battle god is great? Because battle is never great, war is never great. But by repeating this word great, uh, the poet tries to make like a critical view towards war. So here I have written in pink color, there's repetition, and ironical and sarcastic criticizes the perspective of young soldiers. So their blindness towards war. They seek bubble reputation. So we can never say that the battle is great. That is really ironic. So a field where 1,000 corpses lie. So can you tell a great field to a graveyard? So this is just like a graveyard where 1,000 corpses, dead bodies lie. So 1,000 corpses suggest inhumanity, brutality of war, and how the young lives are wasted in the war. And there is a metaphor. Kingdom refers to the battlefield. So a good the battle god's kingdom is battlefield. But for us, for the ordinary people, this battlefield is just like a graveyard with thousands of dead bodies, right? So the poet is very keen in bringing out his idea. You can see how he criticizes war using ironical terms in the poem. Those things you have to remember because sometimes these will come as the context questions. So there you should have the idea great and the battle god. There is allusion, alliteration, repetition. See, there are three techniques in this line. So remember those specific points, significant points, right? Okay, moving on to the next stanza. Again, the poet asks, do not weep, baby, for woe is kind, because your father tumbled in the yellow trenches. Tumbled means having, he couldn't breathe and he has fallen into the yellow trenches, the dirty drains. And always yellow color denotes dirtiness, ugliness. So it denotes the unpleasant nature of war. Now, usually a yellow color always symbolizes the rotten things, right? So the battlefield is just like that. Raked at his breast, gulped and died. Gulped, couldn't breathe. So see how hard it was, how inhuman it was if somebody cannot breathe and dies. So that is really uh, pathetic. If somebody falls ill and dies, that's okay. But a well, a physically fit young person cannot breathe and die. So that is really pathetic. Then do not weep, voice kind. There is again repetition, and repetition suggests the sarcastic attitude of the poet towards war. Moving on, swift blazing flag of the regiment, eagle with crest of red and gold. These men were born to drill and die. Point of them, the virtue of slaughter. Make plain to them the excellence of killing. And a field where 1,000 corpses lie. Again, this line has been repeated to emphasize the brutality and the ferocity of war. And here, swift means fast. Bright, blazing. Blazing means bright. Flag of the regiment. So this is the bubble reputation that the soldiers are seeking. The soldiers have to undergo a lot and difficult things here, right? Painful exercise. Becoming a soldier is really hard, as we all know, right? An eagle with crest of gold and red and gold. So red and gold are royal colors, but uh, here red symbolizes blood, and also gold symbolizes uh, the royalty, the reputation. An eagle is a symbol of power. Eagle is a symbol of power, majesty, and grandeur. Okay. So these are majestic and royalistic colors, as I have told you. These men were born to drill and die. Drill and die. Just see a person getting drilled in somewhere. Can you imagine just it? Because we usually grill the meat and the food items. So can you just think of a person getting drilled? It's really pathetic, right? So, and the next line is really important, ironical and sarcastic at the same time. Soldiers are trained to think killing is a virtue of slaughter. Slaughter means massacring or killing a large number of people together. In Sinhala, we call samuha gathanaya, samula gathanaya, right? So you can just imagine uh, how much people are dying there. Soldiers are trained to think killing is a virtue. Virtue means something good, no? So for them, they are trained to think that you should kill the enemies. That is a virtue. If you kill the enemies, that makes you that you can collect merits like that. So they have been brainwashed. So now they are blindly attached to the war. All right. So lastly, the poet is again asking, mother whose heart hung humble as a button. So this is mother's misery. Because now earlier the poem starts telling the maiden not to weep, whose lover has gone and died in the battlefield. And then the Stephen Crane asks the baby not to cry, whose father has died in the battlefield. And lastly, he asked the mother whose son has died in the battlefield not to weep. So is it really possible? Is it not? It is not possible at all. Because when a loved one has died, you can't keep calm. You can't you can't stay without you cannot stay without weeping. So this is mother's misery. Mother whose heart hung humble as a button. Her. You can see the alliteration there that also arouses what he wants to tell. So there's a simile, shows the helplessness of the mother. Because you have to understand that a button on a shirt, can do nothing except watching what's happening in front of the person. Now, if you are wearing a shirt or whatever it is, there's a button. And this button can see what happens to you. But he's unable to do anything. The button is unable to do anything. So the mother is just like that. Mother watches everything. Mother watches how her son goes to the battlefield. And she knows that her son is battling or fighting with the enemies, and it's really cruel. And she watches how he dies. So mother is just like a button. She cannot do anything. She cannot even ask her son not to go to the battlefield because patriotism is there. That is there. You have a kind of hope for your future, your nation. So mother is just like a button, and the helplessness of the mother is there. So on the bright, splendid shroud of your son, shroud, the suit. Now even this button is there on the dead body. It is covered. This covering is splendid because it's with all those buttons and those badges and everything. But the son is just a dead body. So do not weep, voice kind. So he ends the poem also uh, with giving an instruction, advising the loved ones of the dead soldiers not to weep because voice kind. That is what is said by the people who are promoting war. Voice kind. For them, the voice kind. So the poet explores how the loved ones of the soldiers are highly affected and traumatized. So being traumatized is something that you can't um, imagine, because that is, you know, it is a hard and it is a severe mental pain. When you get a severe mental pain, you get a trauma. So they have traumatized. They cannot even think of what's happening and they are weeping. So that is the real situation. So I have done a quick analysis of the poem because we have done it earlier, and we have to talk about the themes now. Right? Let's go to the themes now.